Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. We are approaching the end of summer. The leaves will be changing colors, it will be getting colder, and we won't be able to do outside things like we used to do, like we have done for most of the summer. The thing that I am going to miss the absolute most is something, a dish that I like to prepare on the grill that I like to refer to as perfect pulled pork. Perfect pulled pork is a labor of love that I go through a couple of times each summer because it's so labor intensive. And I'm going to tell you how I go from a pork shoulder or Boston butt to the very savory meal that is perfect pulled pork. It starts out one day when someone will say, "Sweetheart, can we have pulled pork today?" Or, "Dad, we haven't had pulled pork in a while." And I'll say, "Okay." And so I will go to the store and select a pork shoulder or Boston butt to go and create my perfect pulled pork. The problem with creating perfect pulled pork is from the start to the finish takes about 60 hours. The first 24 hours after the pork is selected, I marinate it in a liquid marinade that consists of vinegar, oil, garlic, and secret spices, which I'm not going to tell you guys what are the secret spices. I put that in the secret spices and it adds tanginess, and everybody knows the taste that garlic does and the pungency of the garlic. That sits for 24 hours, and when it's done, the meat has gone from pink to a slightly gray color. Once the meat comes out of the wet marinade, I add what we call Robinson's Renowned Rub. It is a seasoning mixture that my wife and son and I came up with over the course of many years of trial and error to be the ultimate thing for smoking, slow smoking meats. I put Robinson's Renowned Rub on the meat, and as I'm doing that, you can smell the garlic and the tanginess from the wet marinade as I'm putting on the dry rub. The dry rub turns the meat from slightly pinkish gray to a bright red in color. That bright red lets me know that everything is going to be wonderful. So for another 24 hours, the meat sits with the dry rub. While the meat is sitting in the dry rub, I will go out and prepare my favorite friend, which is my smoker. It's a big black barrel thing that we've had about 9 years now, and it's become like a member of the family. I check on him every once in a while just to make sure he's going good. Use that in the summer actually more than I use my oven on the inside because I like to smoke. When you see Grill Master, they should have a picture of me in an apron with a Kiss the Cook sign on the front of it. So I get the grill ready, and with using hickory smoke and hickory wood and natural lump charcoal, the grill's ready, the meat's ready. I wake up at 5:30 in the morning and start the fire. Sometimes, and I know it has to wake my neighbors up sometimes when the windows are open, but the way I get around that is I offer my neighbors a pork peace offering in the evening once it's done. So I go in, and every 2 hours I have to go and check to make sure that the wood the temperature is up, that it doesn't go below 250 degrees. And the very first time that I open the grill, smoke wafts into my face, and you get that wonderful hickory smoke, which sometimes burns my eyes, but it's something that I just have to deal with. And so I sit the pork on, I turn the pork over and let that go. So every 2 hours I check to make sure that everything's fine and that the heat doesn't go below 250 degrees and doesn't go above 300 degrees. After 8 hours, I take aluminum foil and wrap it onto the shoulder. At this point, it has a very good charred finish on it. And so right now we are at 50 hours of cooking. So we've got about 4 more hours left. After those 4 hours, I take it off, let it sit and rest for a while. And this is where the pulling comes in. I take 2 forks, and it's so tender that I can just take the forks and I separate the meat and shred it out. This is the point that makes everything worthwhile. I take a bite and put it in my mouth using fingers, because you got to use your fingers the very first time you do it. And there is a flavor explosion. You can taste the tanginess from the vinegar, the savory from the smoking, the sweet tanginess from Robinson's renowned rub. And that makes it 60 hours of wonderful time that I'm glad I put it in. In order to create Robinson's perfect pulled pork, you have to pick the meat, wet marinade, dry rub, season with smoke, eat and enjoy. Thank you very much, Toastmasters, for letting me speak to you.
Didn't your mouth just go through all kinds of